well, I guess more to come on that. The other little bit of news was Perplexity announced what they're calling Perplexity Labs. And if you're familiar, Perplexity is really an aggregator themselves of AI models that they use to apply for search. I use it via Raycast. I use it all the time. But Perplexity Labs is effectively their answer to like the research projects that other AI players are producing. But ostensibly, I will say, I think Perplexity, while they don't really have their own models per se, they've done a really good job of tuning because I tend to use them because I feel like when I'm specifically trying to replace search functionality, they do a much better job. And the use case they're presenting here is effectively search on steroids, right? These much more detailed projects, but
Mhm.
with reasoning and outputs around it. And in that regard, if I think there's a good possibility this is going to be very competitive in terms of um, people looking to it as a solution. So I played with it a little bit. I took a look. I mean, what was your take on this, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a smart step for Perplexity. This obviously is not new in the market. You can use Manus or some of the newer OpenAI models and get outputs like ranging from code like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Those are things that Perplexity can help you with, or doing spreadsheets or charts or novel images. Those are the types of things that Perplexity Labs is designed to provide to you above and beyond kind of the research and search capabilities that they've already been doing. And sure. So now Perplexity can also provide these assets and capabilities. And what has made Perplexity different isn't the model itself. As you've said, they don't have one, but they have been better at figuring out what information should go into what. They're kind of halfway in between being a model and being a true agent. So, they're kind of somewhere in the middle, but they have a niche and they have traffic. And I think that's probably the most important thing about this kind of easy creation. Whether you have to be a solution that is used by a bunch of people first, and they have that initial adoption. And Perplexity has done that, so I think it's a great step forward for them.
Yeah, no, and one of the things I think is interesting, they're in this a very interesting space. So something we've talked about a lot in the past is the separation between the foundational models and AI applications, right? Things that are simply leveraging that AI technology to transform it into something else. And one of the things that is interesting about Perplexity is that they are themselves an abstraction layer. So I mentioned I use it through Raycast. Raycast is yet another layer of abstraction where I've got this pop-up tool that can access a bunch of different models. Well, Perplexity doesn't necessarily give you, at least not easily, that direct model control. It sort of abstracts that away from you, but it's using various models. And so it gives you a degree of separation. And they're sort of picking which model makes the most sense to solve whatever the situation might be for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, it's impressive. If you go click through some of their sample projects, it actually, from a relatively simple prompt is preparing some very comprehensive research. And again, it's built on top of this idea of the fundamental search orientation that Perplexity is rooted in. So I think it's good. I think what is interesting is it's been a sort of a darling of the tech crowd. We'll see if this helps them break out into a broader market. Um, but I think it's going to be definitely a sign of things to come, particularly on the consumer side of AI. So we'll see what the pickup is.
Yeah, and it also reflects the increasingly common idea that you can also use these models and related technologies and have them think about something for 10, 20, or 30 minutes and give you an output. You don't need to just use them for instant results, the way that we all thought of them as 2 years ago.
And I think that's actually a bigger step than we're giving enough credit for. I mean, we talked about it. I consider myself a bit of a power user. I use AI every single day. And I still have trouble with that concept. I still tend to use it very transactionally where I'm working and interacting. And I think there's a lot of use cases for that where I use it as sort of a collaboration partner in most cases where I'm sounding ideas off of it. But this idea of simply handing it this deep task and say, go do that. Not sit here and be my little assistant and collaborate with me, but rather I'm going to assign this to you and go off and do it. And I expect a finished product. That's a step that I need to sort of get even into a mindset of like, oh yeah, that's something I can do with this technology. And in fact, we didn't bring it up as far as more news items, but the related to this Anthropic, maybe it was last week, maybe that's why it's not on the radar, but I believe they're what's it called? It's not Opus 4, whatever it was called. But one of the things that it did is it goes out and they were showing it that it could run for as long as 24 hours working on a task.
Mm-hmm.
And on the one hand, you say, well, God, that took a long time. But what that really means is it was able to sustain itself, continuing to crunch through a problem for that long to produce this desirable result. So it's interesting to see where this is going. I think you should definitely check it out if you haven't to see sort of. I think it's a good glimpse into where the future of all this is going.